There you go, Thrush tube, world famous sound of power on a Subaru. Actually sounded, well, at least unique anyway. Alright, just got done working today and we're going to pull a Subaru in the garage and do a quick exhaust upgrade. So, get her in the garage and get started. An update this week on the cheap Subaru WRX project. Well, the car is in desperate need of an exhaust system. It has a stock exhaust that has a few holes in it that I've welded up over the last few months, but to be honest with you, it sounds pretty sickly and it's in need of a pretty serious upgrade. So I have three scenarios that I've been exploring. So the first one is a higher end exhaust that would sound really good and perform really well. Problem with that is rather expensive. It would be in the rounds of $1,000. And that would really blow the budget of the cheap Subaru build. So the second option would be an eBay exhaust system, which is be anywhere from $180 to $220. And to be honest with you, they sound okay, and really there's not a whole lot of added performance. It's they look kind of nice and they sound a little better, but not a whole lot of big performance upgrades for the money. So I also have option number 3. So I did some digging in the attic and I found this. An old school Thrush tube. So I was thinking cutting the stock exhaust out and mounting this Thrush tube on there and seeing what that sounds like. I have a feeling it's going to be one of two things. It's going to sound really good or it's going to sound awful. But nonetheless, I think you can't go wrong with an old Thrush tube like this. So check this thing out. The inlets and outlets are 2 1/4. The main body of the Thrush tube is 4 1/2 inches, and the graphics on this thing are just super cool. Now, this one I got from my brother-in-law probably 5 years ago when he was cleaning out his garage. Now I've only seen 2 of these. This one that my brother-in-law had given me, and I bought another one when I was in high school and mounted on a single exhaust 78 Plymouth Fury. That is why I have the one single Thrush tube muffler that's going on a Subaru. A side note, and the interesting reason why I would have bought one single Thrush tube muffler at the time. Well, 17 years old, I had a 1978 Plymouth Fury, and like all 17-year-olds, you really take good care of your car. So it was something that I cherished. I washed and vacuumed and waxed all the time, and I can remember this like yesterday. I went up to the quarter car wash. I was going to hose the engine bay off, so I got a can of degreaser. I got my $1.50 in quarters. I think that gave me 3.5 minutes in the quarter car wash. So sprayed it with degreaser, and for 3.5 minutes, I sprayed high pressure water in the engine bay. And after 3.5 minutes, I went to get in the car and nothing. It would turn over, but it wouldn't start. So at the time, I must have got the distributor or something wet. So cranked on it, kept pumping the gas, and cranking on it. Couldn't get it started. So finally, I had a couple guys help me push the car out of the car wash and into the parking lot by the car wash. And again, started cranking on it until I ran the battery down, kept pumping the gas. So it wouldn't start. So after cranking on the car for so long and wearing the battery down, I wound up walking home, got a hold of my brother. My brother drove me back to the car wash with a set of jumper cables. By that time, about an hour and a half had gone by, so the car had some time to dry out. Well, threw the jumper cables on there, and the car fired up right away. But the issue with it is we had cranked on the car for so long and dumping raw fuel into the exhaust system that when it fired, it was just a belch of flames underneath the car that split the exhaust system, split the muffler in half. The muffler shot out from underneath the car about 10 feet, and it was just split completely down the side of it. And of course, it got everybody's attention in the car wash, so it was a spectacle. Everybody's standing with their, with their hoses in the car wash, just shooting straight up, looking outside at what was going on. But nonetheless, that's drove me to the point of buying one single muffler and installing on the. All right, I got the car pulled into the garage. I'm gonna go ahead and get it up in the air, get some jack stands underneath it, and start pulling the exhaust system off. I had the exhaust off about 3 months ago, so it should be pretty easy to get back off. All right, we're gonna take a quick look at the exhaust before we start to remove it. So first off, we're gonna have to push the exhaust stud out of this grommet on the driver's side, around the passenger side of the exhaust. We've got a grommet the same way. We're just gonna slide that grommet off there. The back part of the exhaust will drop down. And then right in front of the muffler, we've got one more grommet. We're gonna take this guy, We'll slide that guy off. Okay, coming down the exhaust pipe from the muffler, we've got one more bushing to remove. So that one is going to be right up here between the drive shaft and the exhaust. I gotta pull that one. And then after that, all there are 2 more bolts in the front here that will need to be removed, and the exhaust system will come right out. Okay, pretty quick and easy. 4 grommets slid off. I got the 2 bolts taken out in front, push those out, and all I have to do is drop the exhaust down and pull it up. All right, we're just gonna do a quick saw cut to cut the muffler off. Came off like butter. Do a little bit more cleanup on this exhaust pipe, get some of the rust off so I can weld it. All right, I'm just gonna finish up welding around the rest of the tube. Going pretty easy. Not contaminated too much, so looks like it'll go pretty quick and easy. All right, back underneath the car. The front part of the exhaust has all been installed. You can see here coming out is the tube that we welded onto the old exhaust system. We got the Thrush tube here and the clamp. So we're gonna go ahead and put the clamp in position, slip the Thrush tube back in place. It's all the way on. Position that so it looks pretty cool. And then all we have to do is tighten up the clamp. And that should do it. And we'll be ready to fire it up and see what it sounds like. All right, let's check it out. Got the Thrush tube installed and it looks pretty ridiculous. It sticks out of the back of the car about 4 inches, maybe closer to 5 inches. So you can see the graphics look pretty cool sticking down there. So if there was ever a statement of old school parts on a tuner car, I think this pretty much nails it. So let's fire it up and see what it sounds like. Hopefully it sounds as good as it looks. Okay, minor setback. That didn't sound very good. So we're going to go ahead and cut the cat out of the way too. That seems to be more restrictive than the exhaust actually was. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll put a straight pipe in and put it back together. A little more welding with the cat removed and remounting the exhaust. Okay, the first attempt with the Thrush tube was a bit underwhelming. What I did is I used the stock exhaust, I cut the muffler off of it, put the Thrush tube on, and left the catalytic converter. But I think that really muffled the sound quite a bit. So round 2, I went and cut the catalytic converter off and straight piped it, got the Thrush tube in place, and let's fire it up and see what it sounds like now. So inside the car, it doesn't sound too much different from the stock exhaust. Maybe a little bit louder, but not a whole lot. Back down the drive here and cut across the lawn. That's probably not a good thing. So from inside the car, it's a little bit louder, but not a whole lot. You can hear the exhaust whistle a little bit more than anything. Okay, we'll do a quick comparison of all 3 exhaust variations. So first up will be the stock Subaru exhaust with a stock muffler. Next up, with the stock muffler cut off and the Thrush tube in place, this one still has the catalytic converter. And finally, the last one is with the catalytic converter cut out, straight piped with the Thrush tube. There you go, Thrush Thrush 2, world famous sound of power on a Subaru. Actually sounded, well, at least unique anyway. Sounds pretty good to me. It was kind of a cool project, and especially with the exhaust system all cobbled up. You know, it's a 2-inch exhaust all cut up into spliced together in pieces. But maybe if I put a straight 2.5-inch all the way back, it might sound a little bit better. But nonetheless, cool project, fun to do. I'm Mike, and I will catch you next time on 33 Mile Garage.